Lucky for Rand Paul, Senator Ted Cruz exists. So he wasn't the dumbest senator today.
I don't think our democracy can afford to wait until 2027.
This is a Senate hearing on the voting rights bill.
Bills that have been introduced in states across the country, with now 2 of them having passed in states of Georgia and the state of Florida, with 1 on its way in Texas. And I will say, in a number of the provisions in the manager amendment, which we've gotten some support for certain provisions in it, but not all of them, we did extend deadlines just to allow for more time for implementation, especially in rural areas. Small jurisdictions with under 3,000 people. We made some significant changes. But to simply say that we're going to wait till 2027, which is a significant time away for the entire bill, I think that just doesn't make sense to me, given that Jocelyn Benson, the Secretary of State of Michigan, said that she was able to make these changes in a year. The fact that we have 15 states, including Alaska and Georgia, that already have automatic registration. 21 states having same-day voter registration, including Idaho, Wyoming, and Iowa. 43 states
all reasonable.
have early voting with the average length of 19 days. 34 states requiring no excuse voting by mail in 2019, including Florida and Alaska, and 45 did in 2020 during the pandemic. 40 states have online registration, including Alabama, Florida, and Iowa. And our point is this is clearly workable, but there are some states that aren't doing these things. And we all know things like, which many Republicans talked to me about after the 2020 election, the states waiting so long to start counting the ballots. Created a lot of confusion nationally in a presidential election. That's one of the things that we fix. Something that people have reached out to me about on the other side of the aisle. And I just think that we don't want to wait till 2027 to make these changes.
I suggest that the sense of urgency may be for a different reason, Madam Chair. And I'm going to quote a Politico article that was just recently published May 3rd. I quote, "Many in the party," referring to the Democrat Party, "privately worry that frontline Democrats, like Warnock, or House Democrats that are vulnerable to redistricting, could lose their seats in Congress if Congress doesn't pass this legislation." I believe that's the concern here. I think this is an attempt to change while you have the slimmest majority.
But that's not what Republicans are doing in the states, is what you're saying.
To hold on to that power. Again, I'll go back to what I said earlier. This is something I would expect from communist China or from Venezuela's Maduro. That's exactly what Maduro did.
And just to be clear, like, making voting fairer and more open to people and getting more people voting will indeed help Democrats. Having more representation in the voting population will help Democrats. Sorry, dude. Sorry. Your concern's not valid.
What I see is going on around the country right now is attempts to limit votes. And
you're goddamn right, it's a power grab.
I've seen in the past when a party loses a presidential election in a major way, or they suddenly lose.
It's a power grab in favor of the people.
They step back and they say, okay, what do we have to do to reach out to voters in a different way? What is it about our positions on issues that caused us to lose the presidential race? Or how do we do a better job of communicating with voters? Or what should our candidates be when we put them up? That's usually what parties do when they look back both on Democratic and Republican side in the past after an election. And instead, what I see here with these voter limitations and the impingement on the freedom to vote in these states, it's instead looking at it the opposite way, and that is saying, okay, a bunch of people voted in 2020 because they figured out and they made it easier for them to vote by mail, or they didn't have to get notary signatures through a hospital window while they had COVID in order to get an absentee ballot, or they allowed for early voting in bigger ways because it was more healthy and safer in the middle of a pandemic. And so what I see now is a rolling back of those changes. And to me, the answer should not be, let's make sure these people don't vote again. The answer should be, how do we reach out to people to get them on our side to vote for us? So that's why I have a problem with waiting on this.
Madam Chairman.
Senator Cruz, I just knew you'd want to respond to that.
Of course. Of course.
A wildly inaccurate and partisan assessment of what is occurring. And I would note that this bill was drafted following the 2016 election, after Donald Trump beat Hillary Clinton. And Senator from Minnesota suggested when a party loses, they reassess their positions. The Democratic Party didn't do that. The Democratic Party insisted for 4 years that Hillary won and the election was stolen. And
No. They said that Hillary won the popular vote by more than 3 million votes, and that it's unfair that the Electoral College swings it in favor of an unpopular candidate. That's fuck you, Ted Cruz.
it was Russia that stole it. And for 4 years, we heard that over and
You
over
must
and
not
over
have been in the same electoral college room as me.
Madam Chair.
Yeah. Right-wingers just make shit up. They have no regard for facts whatsoever.
Okay.
The Democratic Party did not reassess any policies, but instead, the response to losing that election in 2016 was to introduce this bill to cause millions of illegal immigrants to be registered to vote for Democrats, to cause felons and criminals to be registered to vote for Democrats. And I would note that now in the 2020 election, there were a number of closely competitive Senate races, including in the state of Iowa, including in the state of North Carolina, including in the state of Alaska, including in the state of Montana, that Democrats spent hundreds of millions of dollars trying to win, and they lost. And so what does this bill try to do? Change the electorates, and let's get a whole bunch of illegal voters to change the composition of the electorate, along with a partisan federal election commission that will be counted on. The Chuck Schumer Election Commission, like clockwork, there will be an October surprise. Who are the vulnerable Republicans? Who are Republicans in close races? Boom. The Chuck Schumer Federal Election Commission will announce investigations and fines directed.
That's what Republicans do constantly.
Power grab by the Democrats because you've decided democracy isn't worth it. You want to fix the game so the voters.
This motherfucker tried to overthrow democracy.
Issues with what you just said, because I'm thinking back to 2016 when, in fact, Hillary Clinton conceded the election, when, in fact, we had an electoral college. I know because Senator Blunt and I were in charge of it, and then Vice President Biden was presiding over it, and it went through. We didn't object to those results. Then let's fast forward to
Ted.
the insurrection to January 6th, when in fact you, Senator Cruz, not all of your colleagues here today, you were contesting the Electoral College.
Ted.
Leading one of the leaders on the effort to say that the election results were not correct. And so you wonder why we want to make sure that people have the right to vote. Well, it's because of this kind of rhetoric and this kind of behavior and an insurrection at the Capitol and a former president that is still maintaining that he somehow won the election when we all know it's not true. And so that's why, if you ask why...
Speaking of which, he made a bombshell announcement today on his blog that nobody's reading. What was it? Who knows? I didn't read it.
We are still interested...
Trump, I'm talking about.
...in our democracy from that day of January 6th on. I think that's your answer.
Well, Chairman Klobuchar, this bill had nothing to do with the 2020 election because it was drafted 4 years earlier. This bill has everything to do with Democrats trying to rig the election to stay in power and to disenfranchise voters. That's what this election is about. And by the way, Hillary Clinton insisted after the election she didn't lose. And not only that, Hillary Clinton advised Joe Biden, under no circumstances should you concede. So the ahistorical rewriting of what occurred is not...
What he's saying has like that kernel of truth to it. She said she won the popular vote, and she did.
Accurate, and rigging the system to take away the rights of voters. This is designed to keep Democrats in power for 100 years, and it is fundamentally corrupt, And it is worth noting that when Republicans had a much bigger majority than Democrats have right now, Democrats have a 6-seat majority in the House and a 50-50 slimmest possible majority in the Senate.
They represent 40 million more people.
The system the way Democrats are doing, and that is dishonoring the promise we made to our constituents.
Rigging the system. Making sure people have easy access to voting is rigging the system against Republicans. I mean, he's right. Oh shit, what? Oh no. Hold on here, hold on. So, when Ted Cruz was listening to Klobuchar's response, there was a video of it. I had a video of Ted Cruz on his phone while Amy Klobuchar was talking. Aaron Rupert shared it out. I don't know, maybe Ted Cruz's office said, like, I was doing blah, 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 blah on my phone. You're lying about me. So he's taking it down, but it was hilarious. Like, while Klobuchar was dressing him down. But yeah, this is it. He was on his phone. Oh, it's the recount. It wasn't Rupar. Sorry. Here we go, yes.
Senator Cruz, not all of your colleagues, when in fact you, Senator Cruz, not all of your colleagues here today, you were contesting the Electoral College. You were leading, one of the leaders on the effort.
He's paid no attention whatsoever.
Results were not correct. And so you wonder why we want to make sure that people have the right to vote, when in fact you, Senator.
Hell yeah, free Palestine. Well, you hit that follow button down below. So that, as I said, that's twice Cruz made an ass of himself. Are you ready for the third time? So we have video of Ted Cruz walking out of a hearing.
And you just said a moment ago that no Democrat favors abolishing the police. If that were the case, why did every single Democrat vote to confirm Vanita Gupta,
I appreciate that,
a nominee for the number 3 position at the Department of Justice, who said last year in writing, in written testimony before this?
No, I want this was a hearing on gun control. Ted Cruz is trying to change the subject.
Advocated abolishing the police, and she was confirmed by 1 vote. Every single Democrat was the necessary vote to confirm a radical who advocated abolishing the police. And just this week, we're taking up Kristen Clark, another radical who has last year in testimony before the Senate advocated abolishing the police. If you don't support abolishing the police, why do you keep voting for nominees who advocate abolishing?
I support abolishing the
As
police.
you well know, Senator Cruz, that is a complete distortion of their positions. We're not here to talk about those nominees. If you want to stay, we can do it at the end of the hearing, but right now we're going to move on. I turn to my Democratic colleagues if either of them have any opening statements.
And there, Ted Cruz walks the fuck out. He wanted to get his soundbite for Fox News.
Senator Cruz, Mr. Chairman, asserts that ghost guns are not...
And then walk the fuck out. Because right-wingers are morons.